So we're out harvesting today. We're bringing in kale and beetroot and turnips and loads of really good Irish produce from the fields. And it's very easy to see the relationship between the food in your box and where it comes from. I know it comes from field six. We were there today. We harvested. We put into your box. You get it tomorrow. But that is so unlike our current food system. If you go into a supermarket and you go to a shelf and you choose a product, I mean, how do you actually know anything about how that produce was produced? Sure, you get the label and it tells you what's in it and tells you the fat content, etc. But how do you know about how that food was growing, the raw materials? How do you know about the people who were growing it, how they were treated? How do you know what damage it did to the environment? Was it done sustainably or not? And it's really difficult. You wouldn't have enough time in a day to figure that out and to go through follow all the steps back to actually discover what the source of that food was. I think you would need probably a sabbatical from your normal life just to be able to figure these things out. So we don't have that time. And supermarkets, big retailers, big multinational companies, big food companies, they go out of their way, their packaging, their marketing. It's all designed to keep you from thinking too much about what's in your food, you know, whether it be the high sugar content, the additives that they put in there to keep things from going off, or about how they're produced, you know, farm fresh or hand baked, hand batch. What does that mean? It means nothing. This food is produced in a factory from cheap commodity ingredients generally. And if you even roll back a page before that, these ingredients will probably have been grown in large conventional farms using excessive amounts of chemicals to control disease. Generally, they'll have come from genetically modified crops. All of this is happening and you will never know. There is no indication on that food wrapper that this is the reality of your food choice. And I don't think that's right personally. I mean, what we strive to do here in Green Earth Organics is to develop the connection between the food you get in your box and what you eat, and you know where it comes from. You have that connection. That's what I try to do in the stories, and what we're out there every day harvesting and we're growing and we're showing the implications and the hardships of the food industry. The bigger retailers have a monopoly in that respect, and they make a lot of money from it. And it's made to a certain extent from exploitation of natural resources. David Attenborough has just recently taken to Instagram, and basically he said, and what he says carries a lot of weight with many people, so I was delighted to see it, that it's not okay. Things aren't okay, and it's not all good, and we can't just put our head in the sand and assume somebody else is going to sort it out, because that isn't going to happen. We all have a role to play. Our decisions and choices make such a difference at the end of the day. When we sit down for dinner there in a discussion with the kids, I mean, obviously we don't eat meat in this household, but the kids would have nearly been instinctively, decided that from themselves. And what you talk about around the dinner table and with your kids, and what you're comfortable about saying to your children about the food and where it comes from and what can influence their decisions, and that can change a culture and a society very, very quickly. And that's the thing. I think we can all feel a little bit hopeless, but ultimately change can happen so fast. When it does happen, think about the smoking ban. We never thought in Ireland, as a nation of smokers and drinkers, that it'd be foreseeable that at some point smoking, if you're a smoker, you're outside the social circle. That was never, you could never anticipate that. In less than 20 years that's happened, which is a flash in the pan. Plastic bags for shopping, gone overnight, 90% reduction. So change can happen, and there's such a movement now towards sustainable food, sustainable ways of living, changes. And if we can just capitalize on that and move it forward, it could make all the difference. I think during the lockdown and the pandemic, there was a lot of hardship, and there continues to be, but there were some very positive changes too. And people maybe started and had a little bit more time. There was a lot more cooking going on. People were thinking a little bit more about their ingredients. We've certainly seen that, and that is stuck. And that's very encouraging. And so if that can continue, people reflect When mindsets change, when mindsets change, culture changes, and when culture changes, that's when we have a real chance at saving our planet, and that's where I think we're heading. At least I like to believe so. So thanks for listening, and it's greenearthorganics.ie.